No clever intro this week, but we do have Russian hackers, and we have exploits, and malware, and supply chain attacks, and Kaseya to talk about. All coming up on OT Exposed Raw. What's up, everybody? And we're back for another episode of OT Exposed Raw, live, uncut, and unapologetic, or something like that. Anyway, so we've got a good special guest again this week, and we've got Pascal again. But I really don't have a good monologue going this week because I just want to jump right into it. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring him right in yet again. And you can't read his name this time because for some reason you decided to spell his name in, I guess it's Chinese. Pascal.
Hey, yeah, I don't know what happened there. All of a sudden, all these strange characters all over my computer.
You are a strange character.
I am a strange character, but these messages keep appearing saying, you're out of luck, all your files are encrypted. I think
yep.
That's the trend these days, right?
That is.
The news
That's why I have the Pac-Man back on my video game screen, because I kind of feel like with all this ransomware and everything going on, it's like chasing ghosts, right? I mean, we're chasing ghosts, and we've got a big one. We've got a big one in the news this week, so that's what we're going to talk about. But first, let's go ahead and bring in our special guest. So I normally fancy myself as the risk guy, the cyber risk guy, but our guest this week, he's the cyber risk guy that I wish I was. He's my alter ego, but better looking. So let's please welcome the co-founder of SecurityGate.io, Ted Gutierrez.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Good to see you.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. How you guys doing this week?
Busy, as usual, like everybody else. And by the way, Ted is in Houston along with myself here. And so we're practically neighbors in the grand scheme of things. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about some Houston cyber business. So fun stuff. So let's jump in real quick to some of the news that we've had, some of the early news.
I think we need to choose between ransomware or vulnerabilities. So
and actually the early news that we have really has nothing to do with ransomware. It's just a few things we're going to talk about real quick. So the first thing is, and we lost, I guess Ted went on a potty break.
That's the first time we lost a...
Yeah, this is the first time we've lost a guest. I guess he went out on a potty break. So the first things first, we have, this is pretty recent. This actually happened on July 4th, but so we have a PowerShell remote code execution flaw. And this is pretty big because I use PowerShell a lot, PowerShell scripting. And so it's a remote code execution flaw. So I don't really know a lot of details about this. I just want to make it known. Pascal or Ted, do you guys know anything too much about this? It's not industry related, but I wanted to make sure we put it out there.
Yep. So it seems like it's only on the 7 series of PowerShell. So that's the one you have to download and install separately. What I find interesting is that they say this is fixed in 7.1.3, which has been out since June 6th from the top of my, because the first thing I did when I saw this article is check for the latest and greatest, but 7.1.3 has been out there, 7.0.6 from the top of my head again as well. And I wonder if they just discovered this and they had fixed it already, or because now it's being exploited, that they're putting more awareness on it. But if you haven't updated yet, go out and do it, because this could potentially get you into a lot of trouble and get you ransomware.
Ah, there it is. More ransomware. We're gonna have to make ransomware a
drinking
drinking game. But I mean, I fear though that we'd be hammered 15 minutes in if we actually did that. So, any comments there, Ted, or we can just move on to the next.
This is OT Raw. I had to jump out for a second. There were 17 FedEx people at my front door just messing up everything, so I had to come back.
You should have invited him on the show. That would have been fun.
That would have been fun. To be raw, so I thought I'd carry the computer with me outside while I was young. On the lawn across the street. I mean,
Well, it caused a bit of a ruckus in our viewers. We had Michael Farnham telling you we're done with us.
Dude, he was done. Oh no, man, that's Michael's a good guy. In fact, he told me when he was on, I guess last week, it was a good episode, man. I learned a lot there. No, listen, PowerShell. I mean, just one other name for something. I just the catch-all for me is go ahead and patch, and you probably should be okay. So
the good news is I think this has made Microsoft think twice about their updating process for .NET and PowerShell. So I think they're going to include it in the regular Windows update, so you don't have to separately go out and do this, which I applaud, because it makes your life a lot easier.
Except whenever the Microsoft updates try to come in on my my display, like they did a couple weeks ago.
That thing should be stripped down anyway. You shouldn't have all of these fancy tools on there.
You know what? It's a honeypot, so
anything could happen. It wouldn't be cool if you get a red screen back there saying, "Ha, all your files belong to us."
Nope. You know what that is, though. You know why I have that, because it is my shameless plug.
It's a Friday. Gotta do it. Give it to me.
Yep. So, all right. The next one that we have is if I get my mouse to act right. So we have a couple here that are kind of funny to me. So first of all, we've got supposedly the Russian military hackers have been on a worldwide rampage of password guessing spree, which, I mean, that's not surprising. I mean, that kind of happens with all nation states and their military and stuff like that. But for it to make the news is one thing. But to add to that, and sorry, I did find this funny, to add to that, that was on July 1st. And then immediately after, this was published 2 days ago, Kaspersky got busted by their password manager generating passwords that could be quickly. I mean, is there a connection there? The FBI would like to think so, but I just think it's funny.
I don't think it's funny, because a company like Kaspersky to fail at the most rudimentary thing, like generating random passwords, because I read the article as well a few times, and I was impressed with the ignorance of them. They're using your local time, your current timestamp, as a feed, as an IV into your password generation algorithm. It's just, we haven't done that since the 90s.
Well, go ahead, Ted.
No, I mean, I remember 3, 4, 5 years ago, wasn't there something big in the news with kind of the connection there? More power to people in different countries that are doing great things, but optics matter, man. In this game, they matter. I mean, they just do. Yeah. So, I'm short on them, and it's not because they probably don't have good products. It's just optics matter, It's interesting to see how it all develops long term, man.
Well, it's funny you mentioned 3 to 5 years ago stuff in the news. I worked for Kaspersky 3 to 5 years ago. I was.
You wrote this. It's your fault.
Yeah, it was my code. It's my shitty code. It's my fault. No, I was on their ICS threat research team, and anyway, there's a good story there. We'll have to have on a special fully drinking episode of OT.
I'm totally down for the drinking episode. Like, if there's a certain word, I've gotten a cooler here. We're ready to go.
I mean, well, all right, full disclosure.
I think
so,
it was Colonial, right?
Ted's got his Miller Lite, and I'm gonna, I've got a little thing here too. So, I mean, we're all.
I'm sticking with vodka. So
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're talking Russian.
Glass.
Vodka.
Entire glass. Come on, man.
All right. So, there's another thing that I wanted to talk about real quick. And what I found interesting about this. So, I don't think that Trend Micro gets enough play out there for being ICS experts and playing. And so I don't know if he's heading up, but he's a big part of their ICS research at Trend Micro. And that's Stephen Hilt, who is also one of my co-authors on our book. And he posted, I don't know if he participated in this, but he posted this link to drivesandcontrols.com. I've never heard of it actually, but apparently this report that they put out, it was the 2020 report on threats affecting ICS endpoints. And as part of the report, and it's really good. I mean, you need to go look at this. I don't have the link for it, but the
Surely
kind of
we do show notes,
summary.
right?
Throw it in the chat. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
So
and so ultimately, there's a lot of things they found about endpoints, the different attacks on endpoints for ICS. But specifically, what I'm talking about is that organized crime, bad guys, whatever, they're using control systems for mining crypto coins. And that's interesting to me because, back in the day, I was playing with Raspberry Pi stacks and Arduinos and stuff for mining Bitcoins and things like that. And now they're using control systems. And I don't know all the details of this. I just found it very interesting that now, control systems, and because that's a threat now, right? Because control systems, if they're going to be used for mining Bitcoins, and again, I don't know all the details of this, but if they're going to use mining Bitcoins, now you have the issue of not only, or it's uptime, it's latency, it's availability, right? And it's so all the things that can cause. So that's an extra problem to worry about now.
Seems kind of expensive. I mean, who has a bunch of control systems laying around to mine things out, right? I don't know.
Well, maybe I haven't read the article, but maybe they're using stuff they find on the internet. Maybe they compromise a company and use their control systems to mine Bitcoin. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. I don't think they're not buying control systems to do it. I think that they're apparently, from what I'm reading from the article, they're compromising control systems victims and using them.
Kind of like, if you really simplify the analogy, it's like somebody. It's not bad enough that you get hit and you don't know about it. Like somebody steals your car. It's like stealing your car and then taking out your girlfriend with it. I mean, they're going to make money.
She was in the trunk.
Awesome.
She was in the trunk at the time.
And it's like, hey, can you imagine the CISO walking into the board? He's like, listen, guys, the good news is that we found that we have been compromised. The bad news is that it's happened for a year and they made millions on us. I mean,
I see, and that's what I don't get. How can you make millions off of equipment that's already borderline overstuffed on performance, right? Because most of these control systems, they don't have any spare cycles left.
No, yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Who wrote it? Like, where did they get the data? Everybody's making. I mean, look, it works. We're in the industry, and it needs to get talked about a lot. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the news that I don't know it has enough data points to really put behind it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to Stephen and figure out what's going on with that specifically. Maybe there's more details in the report.
Invite him.
That's awesome. The editor in chief. I mean, that's awesome.
What's that?
I didn't know that you knew who wrote it.
Oh, I don't know that Stephen wrote this, but I'm pretty sure he had a big part of it. And I'm pretty sure he wrote a lot of this because he is I think he's like their main ICS guy at Trend Micro. But anyway, Trend Micro doesn't get enough props for the work that they do. I mean, Steven's been doing a lot of great work out there with their honeypot project and everything like that. So anyway, I think that everyone should go check that out. I should have a link, but I don't because I'm a slacker. All right, so moving on to our main story is, I don't think anybody can guess what it is, right? I mean, nobody knows what our main story. So it's Kaseya, right?
Came out pretty good. He's been practicing that all afternoon.
Yeah, I think he has. So the Kaseya ransomware, that's what we need to do. The Kaseya So it's a supply chain attack because Kaseya themselves didn't get attacked. It was their VSA server. And real quick, before we get started, I do want to put this out there. This was the short version. It's 1 minute and 47 seconds from the CEO of Kaseya.
Hello, Kaseya community. I wanted to address the egregious attack that took place several days ago on July 2nd against our customers. On Friday, July 2nd, around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, we had received some reports of suspicious things happening. So within an hour of the first indication of a potential issue, we shut down VSA. And we kept this breach to one module of our 27 modules, approximately 50 customers of our approximately 37,000 customers. We believe that the number of small businesses that are managed by MSPs, that are Kaseya MSPs, that were penetrated with this attack or that were directly impacted by this attack was between 800 and 1,500 downstream customers. So one of the phrases that I've heard from a lot of the government agencies, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it's true. So what's coming in the next hours and days? We will be bringing VSA online, both on-prem and our SaaS environments. The information's not going to be as fast as everyone wants it, and we took it on the chin because we came out in public and told the world what was going on and asked for help. So that's what we're doing. It's a big commitment. I know a lot of you have a lot of questions, but we are resourced for it. We're leveraging the right people in the world, and we're looking forward to getting back to being your vendor of choice.
So that was the short version. If you're interested in seeing the longer version of that, you can find it at that link there. Take a screenshot because I'm not leaving it up too long. And 3, 2, 1, going.
It's a good thing we record this.
Yeah. So, yeah, hit pause if you're watching the recording. The, props to the CEO of Kaseya putting that out. I think that that's what Colonial and that's what Colonial, and I'm not going to drink again because I'm done. But that's what Colonial. Do it again. Just kidding. Was it JBS?
JBS, ASB.
Yeah, JBS.
Where's the meat?
Where's the beef? That was a fun episode intro. Anyway, ultimately, I think that was a class act. I think the way that they responded to that with a video was awesome. But let's talk about the details of Kaseya and what it means. So it affected their on-prem VSA servers, and it pushes out ransomware to all of the downstream agents thereof. And he said between 800 and 1,500 customers were affected. And I think that
downstream customers. So that's direct customers, 50.
That's our MSP customers.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, there's some details here we have that we can discuss a little more. But first of all, let's get you guys' take on what does this mean right now in terms of the evolution of the ransomware. Ransomware is evolving. And like last week, I think a week before, we talked about how it's hitting Linux servers now, and now it's evolving and it's morphing. And this is getting scary because they're hitting top of the food chain now between being able to hit Linux servers or the ESXi servers and affect so many things. Now being able to hit Kaseya and customers, and our evil is demanding $70 million for kind of this mass unencryption key for everything, a flat fee. Where are things going? What does this mean?
Well, people are getting ballsier, that's for sure. They're getting smarter and ballsier, right? So I think there's a correlation with the sophistication of the attacks and the breadth at which they're going to go for. That's a telling data point.
Is it ballsier, or is it just more opportunity because we're slacking on securing our stuff, right? Because I read somewhere that Kaseya was on top of 6 out of 9 flaws that were identified, and then the ones they didn't end up patching were the ones that bit them in the ass.
Quite fast too, right? So what did he say? 50 out of its 30,000+ customers. That's pretty.
Yep. Well, yeah. Kudos for the incident response, but minus
I think that if you took a look at this is an event. This happened. What does it mean for the overall, industry? Well, it's obviously had some pretty good IR plans in place. They just did. I mean, for them to even be able to put something out as quickly as they did, they obviously had that under wraps. So I think that's an example we should all look at of how to, at least to have a response program in place. That's something we can learn from it. Yet again, I mean, how many times do we have to hear about supply chain? That seems to be kind of the vector of choice, if you will, which is interesting because it's the last thing people put on their budgets is to do something downstream or upstream.
I think
that's where the SBOM market is going to go. But anyway, go ahead, Pascal.
No, I was going to say that almost along the same line. We're starting to see a trend, right? Solar Winds was very successful. And these guys are like, how can we monetize this? And they went after another supply chain. On top of that, we know they have the power to take this to the max, because oftentimes where Kaseya's customers or sub-customers sit are on ESXi platforms, are within the data center. So they have the power to go out and encrypt and put ransomware on a large variety of systems. But it's scary, and the opportunity is there. This just proves again that in the security community, we have to be right all the time, and an attacker only has to be right once.
What's that, Ted?
Say that again.
Well, you got to be right all the time, and you never really get thanked for it. That's the challenge that I see, and I think everybody's been calling me like crazy. I mean, just like you guys, our calendars have been really full. We're doing everything we can to help these folks out, but the biggest thing what are you doing now? And it's like, we're not doing anything different than we were, say, 3-6 months ago. It's just more people that are, I think, less technical or just understanding the breadth of this. And there's some freaked out people about it, about what to do,
Yeah. And, I thought because of the ESX thing, whenever this happened, I thought it was going to turn out that it was, the ESX aspect of it and the Linux aspect. And it wasn't. So apparently this was, it was interesting, and it was a complete coincidence. This had nothing to do with it. That a 0 day was reported to Kaseya at the exact same time that they were putting out a patch or developing a patch for that exact same 0 day, and even that wasn't part of it. Ultimately, and we don't have a lot of details yet, but it is believed that the attack vector was actually a authentication bypass due to an SQL injection. And so, this information I'm getting from, I'm not getting it from anywhere official, and my sources aren't anything official. I'm getting this information from other reporters, other YouTube casts, other reports that have been written. So right now, that's the information that we have, that it was an authentication bypass. And they do have Kaseya, I want to say Casio, but anyway, Kaseya, they already do have a compromise detection tool that you can download, and so you go to the website and you get this compromise detection tool. But I'm kind of at that point, isn't it almost too late? I mean,
once you have ransomware, the easiest way to detect it is to find the ransomware node.
Yeah, so my shit's encrypted. That's how you detect it.
Unless it's a time thing, unless it's hiding somewhere with a time trigger mechanism on it, you pretty much know when you hit.
That's a good point. But there's also some other IOCs, is that there's a ton of README files that get put all over the place saying, hey, we encrypted your shit and pay us. So
yeah. So who are they asking the $70 million from? Is it Kaseya
themselves? They're saying, Kaseya, you pay us $70 million, and we'll give you this broad spectrum, this unencryption key that will the key to unencrypt all of your.
Any movement on that? I mean, they're not going to obviously pay.
Yeah, no, I doubt they're going to pay $70 million. But so far, and then I've been looking today. So far, Kaseya has not paid them anything.
I don't think they will. So here's something. It might be switching gears a little bit. we don't like negotiate with terrorists as a country, right? And what does that do? It deters people.
But Colonial does.
Shit.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
I missed my thing. Yep, there it is. All right. Yeah.
I don't know. I think he just wanted
Stop
to drink.
interrupting the guest because he's going to run off again.
I just wanted to drink.
I'm gonna run off. Yeah, I'm taking the computer with me this time if he comes back. I had to apologize too. I felt bad. No, so like, what if you made it a crime to actually pay a ransomware? Like, if, as CEOs, right? CEOs, you're going to go to jail if you pay a ransomware attack. Would that not kind of topple the entire incentive program here? I mean, I'm not listing it as an idea. I was at a happy hour yesterday with actually some oil and gas commodity traders, and they were like, you can't leverage a commodity. You can't pay somebody to do something like that in our business. And if you take a look at everything that's happening when you hit this many MSPs at once and you hit this many companies at once, is that not a US commodity in some capacity? And so the argument is like, what's the downside of making it illegal to pay the ransomware? It's just an idea. And I thought it was kind of interesting.
Well, here's something that's interesting. Again, Michael Farnham with a comment: supply chain attacks for a third party, like Kaseya spotlights third party security also. That's pretty big and that's pretty important, because how many customers do you know of, or how many organizations you know of, how many of them hold their suppliers' feet to the fire when it comes to security? And I know of a few. We've had a few customers.
Downstream or upstream? Because here's the problem. Some of these guys get placed in the middle. They get it pushed down this way, and then they have to push. You know, it's challenging. I think I don't know if he was going this direction, but when you take a look at a project, let's just talk enterprise, maybe MSP level. Is it just me, or is like you secure your crown jewels? You know, you've got all these different products, all these different services you're adding in. Why is it that I see personally, maybe you guys see differently, but supply chain security is like bottom of the project roadmap? Yet it's the first kind of entry point that is kind of the first entry point that we're seeing. Did you know that an insurance company in France actually started canceling policies to any place or location or company that paid a ransomware? Because they know about who's paying the ransomware.
I think that's the way to go. I think as long as these insurances pay out, people are going to pay the ransom. But as soon as that either brings up your premiums like threefold, or they don't pay out.
No, you have to have a trigger. Like, you have to have a bat, and they're just figuring out what that stick is going to be. You know, But dude, I mean, are you guys seeing that? Like, if you look at just a regular enterprise security program, whether OT, some IT.
Here's what I see. Most of the time, and especially in the OT space, in the industrial space, most of the time the vendors dictate the security for what they deliver. Let's say you have an OEM or whatever, bringing in their own skit, their own network. They dictate how that's set up. They want it wide open.
Especially in an industry, right? Especially industrial.
But that
should be the other way around. You say, you bring your stuff into my plant, you're going to confirm to me, well, I want this port open. Work around it.
So you got NERCSIP, you got CMMC, you got DFARS. So here are some regulated industries, right? You got defense and you got utilities. So, you know, what do you do in energy, right? So I see between the operators, the middle ground of like the drillers, and then the sub-suppliers after that, which actually can be OEMs as well. A facility downstream providing one tool set or one software type to the rig, and then they work for a big operator. This supply chain problem in energy is not hierarchical. It's like a web like this. And so it's much harder on the supply chain side to kind of dictate what the upstream and downstream requirements are. And they've tried, man. I mean, look at what's happened, what they've done, like with C2, M2. Look at what has happened with a lot of the different, behind the scenes groups that have developed standards.
Well, 62443, right?
Well, everybody
they tried
3 because of the.
You said 62443, and we had like 5 users just drop. I mean, 5 viewers drop.
I know.
And then licensing, everybody is wondering, you know, if I could talk to you about the folks, I mean, I feel for these guys. I mean, I want to help push that product because, I mean, there's a lot of great knowledge there, but it's diverse, it's complex, and a lot of people take elements of it and then they alter it on their own. So we have this, you know, I think the what is it when all ships rise with a rising tide or something like that. I mean, yeah, people are doing more security, but as far as having a buttoned up compliance type or minimum maturity level for downstream and upstream and supply chain, it's I think more attacks are going to happen like this just because of that.
Yeah, I mean, Rand, until we get that stick figured out and whack somebody with it every time, it's going to go up. Here's an interesting comment from Chris. Said that, if you have the rule that says no payout, it will make cybersecurity insurance useless, and I kind of agree with that.
This will make
I mean, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity insurance is for two reasons, right? It's for, number one, it's for if you have an incident, to help pay for the cost of, the loss, the impact, but paying ransomware should be part of that. So I kind of have mixed feelings about that.
So what if I told you half the insurance companies are going broke right now and they don't know how to say anything about it? Because I have gotten more phone calls in the last 60 days from insurance brokers, providers, risk management folks trying to figure out the underwriting process. That's the problem, is that how long does the average insurance policy hold? And what does it really cover, right? It's usually a rider on top of the property and casualty that you have as a business. So now it's like an afterthought. And the underwriting process sucks, period. They'll take one underwriter questionnaire or evaluation or risk assessment, and they'll trade it with another companies, and the brokers are the ones that are putting it out. And it's not the insurance company's fault. It's that the business evolves over the course of the policy, and there's no reinforcement or no validation from the insurance company, the risk management folks, the brokers that sell it, and the company. There's that communication is not there. So I'm with the gent that just spoke. You can't pay them because you really can't underwrite the damn thing. It's a big challenge, man. It's a challenge.
It's interesting. So my parents are they're insurance agents. They're in the insurance industry, a bit specialized. They're in crop insurance, but their overall, their agency deals with a lot of different things, or at least it used to. And whenever cyber insurance first became a thing, I brought it up to him and I said, hey, this is going to be a thing. You need to get into it. And my dad said, hell no, that's going to be difficult. How do you underwrite that? Like my dad had the foresight. He said exactly what you just said. And
16, 15, something like that. I mean, this storm has been coming a long time. I feel bad for everybody. It's tough, man. Hey, on that thread, did you guys read about NATO? Just kind of when we're thinking about big picture and how this all affects. Did you hear about NATO classifying cyber activities as kinetic actions as a group? Did you hear about that?
No, I did not. Now, I could definitely see that when it comes to like control systems and things like that. But as a whole, no, I didn't hear that. Yeah.
So what they did is, I mean, I did this post on LinkedIn. You can check it out. It's not that cool, but there were some interesting comments from folks. So I guess they got together, the big heads got together and said, are we going as a group of nations, are we going to classify cyber attacks as, if they are big enough, that they are considered a kinetic action, which then requires, some sort of action agreed by everybody else. And they said that if it was a consistent series of actions that had a detrimental effect on the country, then it would be considered a kinetic act. There it is. Says in response to cyber attacks on table. Now here's the problem. Here's what I challenged my community with, is I said, so if we say that JBS or Colonial actually affected us and all of these businesses were affected, let's say that is a considerable impact, and from a commodity perspective, it affected us, right? Well, what happens to the statute of limitations, right? Like, if it happened 6 months ago and then it happened another 3 months ago and now it's going to happen again today, how do you classify the timing of all these cyber attacks? And that's what I think nobody figures out, man. It's and it plays into that.
What if it takes a year to figure it out, to even find that somebody's in your
system? A good point. Yeah, that's a good point. That's why the IR programs here, not even responding to it, but just recovering it, really looking at the forensics of everything. I'm with you, man. As a military guy, I'm like, dude, we've been in cyber warfare for like decades, right? So I don't, nobody likes to talk about it. That's what it is, man.
Well, it's I think the reason why they did, and beyond the whole industrial control systems things, and it's Gulf War I, right? One of the first strikes that we did in Gulf War I was a cyber attack to knock out their communications. And so cyber attacks are a natural part of warfare now, like anything, just like bombs. And so I guess, that's why NATO's getting in there on that. But it's like you said, it's so hard to identify timelines,
Actors,
causality, actors, everything when it comes to cyber warfare.
Well, it's
what if you're wrong? You see an attack. You see an attack, and they say, "Oh, this was the Russians, the Chinese."
Right?
You're wrong.
Attribution sucks in cyber warfare, right? I mean, it's hard. Attribution's nearly impossible.
Well, here's the thing: is you can't really, it's when you. I don't know. When we look at history hundreds of years from now, we're going to look back at there was a linear warfare. You're over there, I'm over here. And then World War II, air power came in, naval power came in a different kind of way. That changed the battlefield. During my time, it was, I can't remember the name. Maybe somebody in the audience will tell me, but it's, there's no linear line in the battlefield. So all of these supply routes.
Guerrilla war?
What's that?
Guerrilla war tactics?
No, it's because of that, the battlefield was dynamic. It was, you could attack the people that were traditionally in the very rear of the man, all of my military buddies are kicking my
it's asymmetric warfare, basically.
Asymmetric warfare. There it is.
Yay!
He's looking it up on Google. He's like, what happens next? No, but now it's like it was hard enough with guerrilla warfare where you really didn't have people wearing the same uniform. That's challenging to know, is that a bad guy? Is that a bad person? Well, now it's not even nation states, it's nations, it's groups. It's a group of people that have a common belief system attacking another one. I don't know, man. I think we're all just going to turn off the phones.
Well, cyber is basically another type of asymmetric warfare and guerrilla warfare, quite frankly.
I tend to agree because they'll take you out. Like if you take a look at, I think the definition of terrorism are, I think, coordinated activities to drive fear, uncertainty into a way of life, right? That's why they don't want you to they don't want you to go do this. So what happens when people start taking their systems offline? They go back to breaking open seashells with rocks. We go back to, the reception incest, taking notes on a little rip-it pad to give to the director or whoever. I don't think people are doing that. I think they're doing it because they have to. What happens when people start doing that because they feel they need to, right? I don't know.
So I was going to bring up something while you were talking. It's there. Where is it at? Where is it at?
What are you looking for?
Oh, I can't find it. Here, I'll just bring this up. I'll just show you the montage that I found and see if you know why I brought this up. There you go. Snake Plissken.
LA. Is that Snake? Is his name?
Yeah, Snake Plissken. And so the reason why I bring that up is because at the end of Escape from LA, he set off that EMP that brought everybody back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're talking about.
35. Yeah.
Why am I focused? Why have myself focused? I didn't want to do that. I look egotistical again. So let's.
Remember what the code was? Does anybody want to just guess what the code was for that EMP? Come on, man.
I forgot.
Was it Snake? No.
1,
2, 3, 4.
No, man. It was 666, dude.
Was it?
Do I get an OT Raw T-shirt for knowing that?
Dude,
if we had some, you
know what? We have to do that. We absolutely need to start having some OT exposed raw swag, because I think we need to have that. In fact, we need to get an OT exposed raw like challenge coin going, like only for guests and people. But we're gonna have create some swag. You definitely get the swag for that. I think it's been this conversation went from Kaseya to asymmetric warfare using cyber and insurance, and it's gone all over the place. And I think that's cool. That's kind of how we want these conversations to go. But I do want to circle back around to Kaseya a little bit, and because I want to explore. We've got about 10 minutes left of the formal show, and I want to explore a little bit about where we think this is going to go. What are our predictions in terms of, and you said it probably best, Ted, about, people are getting ballsy. They're going to continue to get more ballsy until we have that, big stick to whack people with, and we have that figured out. Where do we think this is going to go? I think that that says it all. They are getting ballsier, but now that we have the Linux version and be able to hit ESXi, and now that we have things like attacks like Kaseya, I mean, and so let me throw this out there, and I don't want to really get too much into this because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but have you guys heard of the what's it called, the cyber polygon? Anyway, so there's this thing that survivalists and conspiracy theorists talk about, the how they actually, so like 3 weeks ago, they actually predicted this, and it happened. So they were saying 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they were saying how there's going to be a huge supply chain attack. Now, of course, it would be easy to say, well, yeah, we just had
I'll bet on that one. Can I take that bet?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to tell you,
that's pretty easy to say.
Something
Right
again.
now, dude, supply chain.
Yeah. So, but they were saying that how they said on July 4th and July 9th, actually, or July, what was it? The last Friday and this Friday, they were basically saying that how there's going to be this cyber polygon or whatever the hell it is, and there's going to be massive supply chain attacks, and it's all part of this big whole thing. And I don't really care about that, and I don't get into conspiracy theory, and in fact, I hate politics. But ultimately, though, I do see things ramping up, and I see it's escalating. And what do you guys think?
I think we got a perfect storm brewing. Not only are the attacks more sophisticated, the tools are sharpening. People on the other side that receive these ransomwares or that are just aware of security, they're going to be more jumpy. You saw it with Colonial Drink. We saw it with them.
I got to drink coffee now.
But we saw with them, they pulled the plug as soon as they suspected anything. And more people are going to do that. That in combination with the more sophistication, the bigger playing field, I think we're going to see something catastrophic happen probably within the next 6 months.
Yeah, my gut tells me my gut tells me it's going to be generally like this for a while. Like this, meaning every 2 to 3 months we actually hear about a big attack, which means, I don't know, one we hear about for every 20 that we don't, every 5.
Yeah.
Or maybe, we know that it's happening. My hope is that it just stays generally like this. I think that what I'm a little bit curious about is the defensibility seems to be kind of not on par, but it may be right underneath it, right behind it. Can we, if we're going to have 15 events, can we not turn those into crazy experiences, right? If you have an event, let's close it up. Let's learn from it and let's move on. But I think that what's going to happen is that the money's going to increase. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't think people are going to go for a lot of tiny kind of small attacks for small amounts of money. I think they're going to be more sophisticated. It was interesting how the Kaseya attack, could have been, the way that it kind of went down is they were kind of lurking on the email and the comm systems. And it's like right when they saw patching coming to an end, they decided to go ahead and execute. And what they didn't do with backups, kind of the data exfiltration is telling a story, right? So if we have this capability now forensically to go back and look at what were they thinking? The best the best thing that can happen is that it stays flatline. I think it's going to be a money play. I think that nation state actors probably going into the commodity side of it, whether it's power, whether it's gas. I don't know. But I hope that it stays generally the same. And the best thing that we can do is hope that, this rising tide brings everybody up on the security posture side. I mean, it's just no longer something you can do.
That's one good thing that I'm seeing coming from all of this is
I think so.
everybody is becoming hyper aware, and everybody's, those same, stubborn players in the industry, those customers that we all have that say, well, it's not happening to us. And I just, it's not worth it. And we all have those industry contacts and customers that really just kind of feel like it happens to everybody else but them. And it's a, from a purely selfish business perspective, hey, we're finally getting customers, wanting more business from us. But on the flip side is that, but that's, outside of the business perspective, that's what's needed though, right? I mean, we do live in a digital and a cyber world, and there are consequences and impacts that happen from lack of cybersecurity controls, lack of risk management, lack of and complacency, right? I mean, so if one good thing comes from this, and what, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
I'll comment on that. Right? So this might be a little bit raw, but this might be the place to say it. We need the guys that don't give a shit to get hacked, lose big time, make a story about it, because this other 99% don't want to be that, and they beef up their security. That's not to say that anybody, there's going to be winners, there's going to be losers, right? I think we can bet on some lazy ass people that just aren't going to do stuff. And I think that they are the minority. And as they continue to be targeted, our heart goes out to them. Well, there's a lot of product companies and service companies that will try to help them, but you can't change an internal belief system that won't happen to me. That is not going to change. There's still going to be people like that. Yeah. So the way I would perceive it and look at it is, okay, that's a healthy part of our industry, because those guys are the ones that are demonstrating the need. So, I mean, it's a little raw, but we need those guys.
Like you said, this is the place to say it. I mean, this is the show where we speak our mind and tell people like it is. And if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Hey, man, like that. It's very easy to talk.
You've been sitting on that one, haven't you?
Yeah, he is. He's like, welcome to Raw. This is the place to make it happen.
Yep,
the show where you can kiss my ass. Anyway, that's our slogan. It's like, well, it's OT exposed, raw, live, uncut, and unapologetic, and kiss my ass.
You need to bring somebody in. It's kind of like when you get a new race car driver and all the other racers are like, hey man, make sure you wash your car when you go. And he's like washing his car. He's like realizes somebody made fun of him, Yeah. Nobody washes their race car before they race. You need to hey, listen, we run a tight shop here. I need you to dress in a suit. I need you to be in an office format. You need to have your talking points like that. Just totally screw them up, dude.
Yeah. It's I'm trying to think of who
he's thinking. Who can we
you need to tell them a product pitch and be like, well, first of all, you're going to have a product pitch, and then like right when they get in the middle of it, just slam them with a bunch of all confused or flustered. Yeah, I mean, it would be. Hope they have a good sense of humor.
No, that would be great. So, I mean, in case people haven't figured it out yet, our 45-minute show, the official show, has now ended. And at the end of the show, we typically like to give our guests an opportunity to talk about whatever they want to talk about. And usually our guests like to talk about themselves or their companies. And Ted basically said, no, let's talk about something fun and useful. And I think one of the things you mentioned was that you and I both come from Houston, and we're currently in Houston. And there are, there's a lot of things happening around the Houston cyber scene that I think are interesting. The CSA is an organization started by, I think it was not solely, but at least co-founded majorly by Derek Harp, and the CSA global organization. And I don't have a link because I didn't plan on talking about it. But that's something that's really big in Houston. There's a lot of great organizations, great cybersecurity organizations. I mean, DEFCON 713, DC 713, DC 281, the HaHa Houston Area Hackers Anonymous. There's a lot of great things going on. There's ISSA chapters here. Houston really is just a cyber hub. I mean, it's really great. I mean, what's on your mind in terms of that? What's going on for you?
Well, I think we need more tech-oriented folks in this industry. We need more software developers. for sure. We need more OT folks. That's for sure. I mean, right now,
Yep.
what I'm hearing on the underground is there needs to be more qualified technical people in cyber, software, IT, OT, all of these technical realms. And so I think that it's getting there. It's better than it was about 5 years ago. That's for sure. But with all the people moving from different states, I think we'll get some nice overflow. But I think that the community needs to beef it up. The other thing people don't think about is what role the companies that are headquartered here, or the companies that have big presences here. We're talking about some big companies. And in my personal experience, they're really doing an awesome job bridging the gap between mega-sized company that's slow moving. They've had some old processes. They know they need to innovate, and then going to the smaller, younger Houston-based, maybe not Houston-based, but these younger firms, whether they're service firms, whether they're tech firms, whether they're outsourcing firms. That connection is why I think Houston's growing as fast as it is in this space. So that's one perspective.
I think because of the oil and gas base here is the reason why we have a lot of imports from all over the world. I mean, Houston is a huge diverse culture in terms of just people from all over the world. And I think that's reflected in the cyber culture here. You totally, you have one of the things that this industry is rightfully complains about a lot is lack of diversity in the OT cybersecurity space, women, minorities. And I think that Houston, I mean, you look at CSA here, you look at a lot of the organizations here, the cultural diversity in the hacker cybersecurity, OT cybersecurity culture here is massive. There's just so much diversity here, and hopefully it becomes an example to the rest of the world. We have University of Houston, where Dr. Art Conklin runs their cybersecurity, was running their cybersecurity program, and then but specifically their SCADA and OT cybersecurity is a big example of that. The Houston Community College has a huge cybersecurity workforce development program. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in Houston. I think I really consider Houston to be a cybersecurity hub globally and forward thinking in a lot of ways. The university, the college system, the organizations, the diversity. And I think that, Houston is a great place to be in terms of cyber.
I think it's a good place to be in cyber right now. I wouldn't want to be an insurance salesman in Houston per se.
No, and the weather here sucks. It's
listen, it's been raining
months of the year.
People, okay, it's been raining, and then I don't know, man. Somebody told me the other day we're the energy capital of the world, and somehow we ran out of electricity during a freeze down to.
Oh, that's a sore spot. Mr. Risk Guy, it was a risk decision. The likelihood that was going to happen outweighed the impact. Blah blah blah. It's a risk decision not to.
Welcome to Texas, where we make dumbass decisions, even if it makes financial sense. Man, that's a freedom. That's what people love about being down here, and I do think that's why companies are flocking down here. I mean, when you look at the M&A activity, when you look at the Series Seed, Series A, Series B funding, I just got some notes recently. I mean, there are more investors calling this region, and there's product companies trying to get down here too. So I don't know. I think it's a good space to be in right now. It is a space that I think the next evolution of our workforce, the next 10 years, if you will, this is a good place for them to move. We just got to do our part to make sure we don't break the damn thing. I mean, it's going to build no matter what.
Keep it running. Keep it running, guys.
That's pretty much it. Just don't screw up, and we'll be fine.
It's our race to lose.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think it's a good place to end it. Guys, this has been a great discussion. And Ted Gutierrez.
Yeah, really pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Like always, you've added a lot to this discussion. I think that this discussion was nice, a little different than the past ones because we veered off on some tangents, which were really cool and interesting, and we didn't stay in such a linear talking point path. So, no, it's been fun, and we look forward to seeing what you and SecurityGate.io do in the future, and we look forward to seeing you soon again. And like I said, I think before the show, we're talking about we're going to do lunch soon since we're both here in Houston. So
lunch is next week. Done.
Yeah, lunch, then happy hour or something like
Answer
that.
our instruments guy. We'll be
Happy hour first and then lunch. That's what.
Yeah. All right. That's right. So thanks for everybody for tuning in to OT Exposed Raw. We'll see you next time.